A cooler day in Central Otago for Grand Prix Day. The last race on the card today, the running of the 69th New Zealand Grand Prix, Brock Feeney on pole, but we've got another reverse race grid to get away. A lot of wind about today, but a lot cooler, Andrew Wade, that we've seen already. Pace is a lot quicker amongst the other classes.
Yes, it definitely is, and that wind is now starting to come from the other yesterday. We saw in the race yesterday afternoon, it was a tailwind. Now they've got a headwind into the bus stop, so that's going to help them a bit through there. But I'm intrigued to see how it's going to be compared to when we watch him off the grid here as well, because Nikita Johnson, he's been fast, he's off the pole. But what I like is Monteiro, he's on the front row. We've got Sean Rashid, who's had probably his best weekend yet over the whole championship. So he's in there with a fighting chance.
He's been solid. I think that's a fair word to use. But suddenly you see that golden car coming, going, okay, maybe he's finally. Some drivers take a while to find their feet, right? Even if it's to come to the last round.
Yeah, for sure. And a track like this, if you're comfortable around here and you're happy with the way the car's set up, it's just sort of twofold. You end up going even better than you otherwise might have thought. And we know he put the newer tyres on in the second part of the qualifying yesterday. But that's just a confidence gain as well, to be able to do that and roll those new tyres. It goes, you know what, I can do this.
What are your expectations now of the likes of Arvid Lindblad, right? Yesterday secured the championship, so he gets the supercar points. And now we start thinking about the second position. Now, Nikita Johnson, you've got Patrick Hoytsenroder, and of course you've got Zach Schooler, who has already won the Rookie of the Year. Dad's turned up from Dubai, which is lovely to see him in the house. So for them, the battle continues.
Yeah, well, Hoytsenroder yesterday, we saw how fast he was. We saw the headlines, the bullfighter. That's sort of how he's becoming this weekend. He's very, very quick here with the way he's been going. And again, it's that confidence thing around this track. If you've got that confidence, you're on it. And he's going to be one to watch in this race as well to try come through. But then Zach Schooler, he's on grid 4. We've seen race wins out of him. We've seen he's able to do it. So as we know, it's so important to get off the line here to start with.
Well, we're actually going onto the front of the grid now, and when you look up towards the bus stop, and you took the FT60 out the other day, which I know was a lot of fun for you. And it's a car, a handful. But when you were approaching the bus stop, what was going through your head?
You're just trying to pick your market. You're just trying to drive in there as hard as you can, as late as you can, and just pick your braking marker as basically the whole way into there. You're flat, you've turned in, you've committed to the corner before you're even on the brake. So it's just that vision thing, trying to find exactly where you need to be. So it is so fast into there.
The one thing we've noticed already today, and probably for most of the weekend, if you get on the outside, you're in trouble. But everybody's been quite polite at the moment. Would you expect now with another battle that is being involved with this P2 that they might just get a little bit more daring?
Well, there's not a championship on the line anymore. Lindblad's obviously secured that one, so it's this race.
There's super license points on the line for P2 in the championship.
Yes, there is. There's that to think about as well, but I think most importantly, a lot of these drivers are focused on this Grand Prix, so they'll be using this race for a test session as much as anything, especially the two AAA drivers, Will Brown and Brock Feeney. I'd say they'll be using this as a real good test to see what they can do. They might have gone a different way to set up, and you know, that's all they'll be focusing is on that New Zealand Grand Prix when we've got them on the front row.
So when you talk about that, Greg Rustis told us in pit lane yesterday that there was a suggestion that maybe Brock Feeney was using fuel load to sort out that race yesterday. If they've done that yesterday, what are they doing today then?
Yeah, it's they'll be doing the same thing. They'll still be, I'm assuming, I don't know this for sure, but if they're focusing on that Grand Prix, they'll be running the fuel load that is required to get them through that longer race, because the Grand Prix is the longest race of the championship. So so they'll be using that to gain some data, to understand what the car's doing, and you know, even things like how do we set the car up to be able to pass better? Do we take some aero off the car? But at the same time you do that, you're not as quick then around the high-speed corners, so it's a real balancing act, but just trying to figure a way to have a car that you can actually put some moves on people. You need that traction to be able to get off the corners, to fire it up the inside in the next one.
There is genuine excitement about the 69th New Zealand Grand Prix. The Bulls on the front, but young Patrick Hoytsenroder, who won his first race yesterday, he's going off P3, and I know we're looking ahead to that one, but you get the feeling maybe it's not going to go all the Bulls' way.
Yeah, well, again, it comes down to that start, but he's been pretty convincing this weekend so far with the speed he's had. He's been there throughout the whole championship, but at this point now, he's really starting to pick it up, and he's going to be very fast. And then you look at the other one, Lindblad. You feel he's on the back foot a little bit. P5. He's not as quick as what we've seen him, and not as dominant, but he's won every feature race. But we're talking about the Grand Prix. We've got another race to get on to before that. We're getting so excited about that one. It's not far away, but this reverse top 8 race is going to be interesting.
A little while to go yet. Don't blow it all out right now. We've got Liam Skeets up there, the current New Zealand Grand Prix champion. He's in the house as well. All right, Rusty is on the grid. Rusty?
Stephen, thank you. Yeah, really, really good opportunity here for Nikita Johnson, who has kind of been badged as something of a Mr. Consistent this season to convert here, but he wants to do that on a regular basis. Super talent, that guy. We've got a nice feature with him. Why don't we have a word to Nicholas Montiero on the outside of the front row. He's having a word to the MTech Motorsport team here, his crew who look after him. Gents, can we get in, Nicholas? This is a really cool opportunity for you on the front row here. Just give us a sense of what you guys are talking about here.
Yeah, we talking about like the first laps, like push, maybe like overtake if we get passed by Nikita.
Okay, so push early on. It's cooler than yesterday, significantly cooler. Have you guys allowed for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have like tests in like cooler here, like first practice, and the car is very good.
We'll leave you to it. Thank you for talking to us. I really appreciate that. Let's wander a little further back here. So Andrew and Stephen talking on the grid before about the fact that Zach Schooler's dad has jetted back in for this one. Fantastic to have him here. We got to speak to him at the opening round. Let's get a little word with him here. This is a good chance here, second row of the grid. You've got to pounce early, basically, don't you?
Yeah, no, I mean, we know what we need to do for this race. Starting here is a pretty good spot to start, as we saw yesterday, so let's see what happens.
All right, quickly too, nice to wrap that up last weekend, the rookie crown at Teretonga. That must have felt pretty special.
Yeah, no, it was obviously pretty special, but now it's all eyes on P2 in the championship.
Okay, there you go. Right, we'll leave him to it. So there you go. Take away from there, P2 in the championship. That is squarely his focus. This young man we spoke to last weekend as well, because he's got a documentary team that are following him for some stuff on YouTube. Sean Rashid. So this is again for you here. So row 2 here. Can you kind of jump in that gap in the middle there off the start?
We'll see. The starts have been pretty good this year, so we'll just have to time the clutch release light, and if we do, yeah, get in front, and then yeah, as you've seen in the last race, pretty lead follow here, pretty difficult to pass. So if anything's going to happen, it's probably going to be in the first lap.
Sean, just tell people a little bit more that are watching the coverage, how tricky is that clutch release, and what are you endeavouring to do to ensure you get that right and that you get that drive off the line and that it works effectively?
Yeah, it is really tricky. It's really dependent on the temperature, the grip level of the track, and how much mileage the tires have on them. So, you know, on a new tire, you can pretty much just drop it and go, just manage it with the throttle when the turbo kicks in. But when you have like this, it's a cooler day than we've had. We've had some rain last night, so some of the rubber's been washed off, older tires. So yeah, it'll be tricky, but we'll get it right.
All right. Looking forward to that Grand Prix this afternoon too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good on you. There he is, Sean Rashid, talking to us before we go green here in this one. Now here's Mateus Zagazetsa, who we spoke to yesterday, who had that drama with the wing, and we got to see his emotion when he got out of the car because that qualifying didn't go to plan. How are you feeling ahead of this one today?
Yeah, good. Ready for the race.
All right. The emotion of yesterday was tough. I know. We're third row of the grid here. It's been a little bit difficult to pass. Is there a little plan here for you? Do you think you can pick up some spots?
Yeah, just going forwards and pick them off one by one.
Okay, we're going to leave him to it. He's getting set and focused for racing. So grid is starting to be cleared here. Second last race of an unbelievable season of the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship. Beyond this one here today at Highlands, it is all about the Grand Prix this afternoon. But we've just canvassed a couple of names that might be added to our winners list here in season 2025. Jonathan, Andrew Waite, boy, it has been a fabulous couple of weeks on the road here. Tough for all the crews and the teams. They've worked night and day and lots of test sessions before every round as well. We're nearing the end of it. They're going to have a good party tonight, no doubt about that.
No question, and they deserve it. In my opinion, this has been the most competitive championship in the 20-year history of TRS and now CTFROC, the Next Gen Championship. And here is your 4-kilometer track map. And it's tricky. elevation of 29 meters, 14 corners and 4 kilometers. Andrew.
Certainly a fantastic track, this one. We've got some high commitment corners as you go through the bus stop, down into turn 2. A lot of aero needed through there. Then down into the S's, awkward braking through there, and then towards the carousel before your full throttle all the way down to turn number 9, and then from there up over the bridge, airborne over the bridge before arriving at Lakeside, and then finishing off the lap with the all-important turn 14 back onto the main straight with a bit of elevation change as well, a few blind corners too.
So we await the start of this one, and this could be a breakout race for Nicholas Monteiro. He showed very well yesterday, and he's not really had the biggest of seasons, but he's got a great opportunity now from the front row. But it's also a massive opportunity for Nikita Johnson, because he and Skula are fighting for those 14 super license points, and they mean a lot. Yes, Lindblad has taken the championship, but there is still plenty to race for. Battle of the Bulls, Nikita Johnson trying to get runner-up spot. Dad's here for Skula, and there's many other stories. You saw Zagazeta there saying she's going to pick them off one by one. Manson's out there. Dad's been racing already this weekend in GTs. But here is Huizenrode, the story of the weekend so far. One of 3 Australians here this weekend. Tommy Smith testing in Indy Next. Let's take a look at the grid for race 2. Remember, reverse top 8, that sees Nikita Johnson of the USA start on pole. Nicholas Monteiro of Brazil alongside him. Sean Rashid with his best starting position. Zach Skula alongside him. Matías Zagazeta of Peru in 5th. Michael Shin of South Korea 6th. Then it's Arvid Lindblad, the champion, in 7th. And alongside him, yesterday's winner, Patrick Huizenrode in 8th. Manson starts 9th. Brock Feeney in 10th. Will Brown, his teammate, in Supercars 11th. And Jet Bowling starts 12th. From the USA, Enzo Ye of Chinese Taipei 13th, Nicholas Stati of Australia 14th, James Lawley of Canada in 15th, and then it's Alex Crosby, who got a penalty yesterday for track limits, and Barrett Wolf starts 17th position. Just, I don't want to overemphasize this, but these cool additions, this is about as cool as we've raced in the 5 weeks.
It is, and what we'll see out of this is the drivers push on just that little bit harder, as they won't need to look after the tyre quite as much as with those hot conditions. So we'll see them just warm their tyres up, swerving left to right, building as much front tyre temp as possible. And also you need that rear tyre temp as well for that standing start to build that traction as much as possible. And Sean Rashid sitting there in P3. This is certainly a great showing for him so far, and it'll be interesting to see where he does end up in this one. But it's a good boost for him, isn't it?
Yeah, and I tell you what, all eyes on Nikita Johnson, the young 16-year-old from Florida. He's had a bunch of seconds and thirds, so he's been on the podium consistently. He's just not had the win. His dad, Obi, will be cheering him on for sure. He's got a big season ahead of him, but he'd love to break out now and take a win, especially with Arvid Lindblad further down the grid. And there you see the number 17, High Tech. And GB3 next year, as well as in 2 weeks' time, going to St. Pete for the first round of IndyCar and Indy Next. And he'll be up against Callum Hedge and Liam Skeets and Josh Pearson. So it's going to be a nice, fond welcome back, as it were. And Nikita is going to be sharp. That's what this championship of 5 weeks is all about. What can Nicholas Monteiro, can he create a surprise, the young Brazilian? He's been rather quiet so far, but this is his opportunity. Watch out for Skula, though. That's the battle, 17-3, between Skula of New Zealand and Nikita Johnson of the USA for the runner-up spot in the championship. So then, final cars come into position. Barrett Wolf takes his position. Watch for the lights just above the start line. And getting that clutch position, oh so important, as you heard. On come the lights. Up go the revs. Out go the lights, and away we go. Good start from Nikita. Rashid goes to the inside. We'll try and get alongside Monteiro. Monteiro hasn't given up yet. It's a three-way dash to the bus stop. Something's got to give. And Monteiro tries, but doesn't quite pull it off. And Nikita
there's a shunt
got a shunt. And it's 2 cars, maybe
That's
3.
Lindblad.
Huizenrode and Lindblad involved. 2 Red Bulls involved. Oh, no. All the drama from yesterday. And several of the top proponents out, including yesterday's winner, Patrick Patrick Huizenroder. Wow.
That was a big
and
one.
Lindblad, first crash of the season.
Yeah, I think he just got caught out wide there on the outside. So we've got the safety car that's just been called. But yeah, that's a big focus now on getting that car back. Main thing first, as long as he's okay. But you can see him, he's getting, the team are giving the thumbs up. So we can see the Huizenroder getting out of the car.
Yeah. And in a championship, which has been in many ways the cleanest in the history of the sport. I was joking about the pass department not having anything to do throughout most of the first 3 rounds. Now they've got a lot of work to do, especially on Lindblad's car. It doesn't look too bad for Huizenroder. Huizenroder's going to go back and see what they have to say to each other, I'm sure. But Lindblad's car's a real mess. Especially the right-hand side, the front right suspension and rear suspension broken, and of course the front wing has hit that wall heavily. I think you're right. I think he got stuck in a sandwich, didn't he?
Yeah, he just sort of got caught wide there and had nowhere to go at all. But now the race is on, not on the track, but the race is on to get that car repaired in time for the New Zealand Grand Prix.
And the body language, oh no, that's
Shin.
the 23 of Shin without the wing, and the wing's underneath him. He'll need to crawl back to the pit lane, and he's also got a Broncos suspension. The man who was 3rd in the Grand Prix this time last year could well be suffering heavily here in race 2. Well, he has suffered heavily. Let's have a look at it. And Andrew, let me get your eagle eye. I was focusing, as you might expect, on the leaders. But now let's just watch back for Huizenroder just behind Schooler. You'll see it now coming up. There's Schooler, and here's Huizenroder. Yeah,
so
clip there.
Started from there.
He was out of control, and he'll whip across the track and then just take Lindblad.
Yeah, and so, yeah, Lindblad's had absolutely nowhere to go but to go right and have to avoid it. So that's...
I'll tell you what, Mateus Zagazeta, and we look... Brown, I think, is going to have trouble as well. He was the first of them. So there's Lindblad. Oh, what an awful crash.
The thing to note there as well, that's at least 3 of the M2 competition cars as well. So
it's going to be a new wing for Brown for sure. There is the front wing. And Shin, definitely suspension, and obviously Huizenroder as well. So a lot of work to do at the start of race 2. But that bus stop, we always say it, you know, there is only one line through there. You cannot go 2 wide or 3 wide. Here comes Brown.
Yeah, so hopefully just for him, it's only going to be a front wing. They would have checked over the car to make sure there was no other damage, but they've got that back out there, and he might jump onto the back of the safety car again, and then if they need to have a second look at it, he'll come back in again, as the worst thing you want is to go down a lap. So that's what they'll be looking at there, as the M2 competition boys are going to be very, very busy before the New Zealand Grand Prix. They've got at least 2 to 3 cars that are going to need a lot of work, especially Lindblad's car, to turn it around. But we've seen it. We saw the crash for the Kiwi Motorsport guys at the last round with Jet Bowling's car. They turned that around pretty quickly. So all these teams are super handy, and they know they're doing big time to get these cars turned around. Greg Rust.
Mark Pilcher gave me the sign to say that it was game over for the car, but okay to talk to Michael. Let's let him jump out of the car while M2 competition go to work here. Michael, the damage to the left front has taken you out of this. They've replaced the wing, but it's too significant to keep going. Can you, once you grab your helmet off there, grab that off, and we'll talk with you about your take on what unfolded there. So it's pretty wild start to the race. What happened from your standpoint?
No, I saw Patrick go off, and when he rejoined, Matthias tried to avoid him, and he went into me, I think. But it was not really Matthias's fault at all, because he was trying to avoid a different car, and I just had nowhere to go.
Hard luck.
Thank you.
And you'll see on Lindblad's car, that's one of the innovations. You see the sort of string-like looking material. That's to keep the wheel tethered so they don't fly off.
Yeah, that's again just the level of safety that these cars are at. So the biggest assessment with this car is going to be whether or not the tub has stood up to it. So when I say tub, what it is basically the part around the driver, the monocoque around the driver is just one solid piece of carbon fiber, which is completely built to look after the driver as much as possible. So it depends if that's got any damage. That's what's going to be the biggest question mark over all of this. All the components, all the parts around it, they will get that replaced in time. And but if there's a tub that needs to be sorted here, that's where the pressure is going to really come in. I'm not saying it'll be over if there's tub damage, but it just really cuts even more work into it.
Damon Leach and his team will go to work, and they're brilliant here. Here's another look at it, and again, we focused on the lead as you would, but watch Huizenrode there in the number 5. He gets a good start behind Zagazzetta. He comes alongside Shin, and they touch wheels, and that's when Huizenrode loses control, and you'll see him bounce across.
The red one there, red and black car,
Bang.
just got the wheel as he tried to turn into the bus stop, and had nowhere to go from there. So I think what happened there is there was 3 wide into there, so basically, no, it was only 2 wide. So
2 wide, but Zagazzetta, just
didn't come across. He was trying to take his line.
Zagazzetta was the one that bounced into Lindblad, knocked him wide, and it's interesting because Zagazzetta's still out there, and he did a great job of braking hard and avoiding a front collision, but he was the one that touched Lindblad, and that's the damage you see to the Brit's car. So it'll be interesting to see how tough that car of Zagazzetta is. He's currently in 6th place. There he is, and he's still circulating. Let's head down to Greg Rust.
Jonathan, he actually, it'd be a good question mark here that you've raised is what state that car is in the wake of that. So while we were focused very much on the crash and ensuring that drivers were okay and so on, Matthias Zagazzetta continued around on the lap, and where they turn left to head under the bridge area, the car ran straight on. He lost a number of places when that happened, so we'll just keep an eye on him too.
Thank you, Greg. And I tell you what, how about this? For Kiwi Motorsport, Jet Bowling 7th, James Lawley 8th, and Nicholas Stati 9th. All 3 of the Kiwi boys right up there in the top 10, and that's the first time.
Yeah, it's good to see them up there. It's obviously a long race distance to go, but great showing for those guys to be up the pointy end.
Now, Johnson obviously now in a good position, but Schooler also will be thinking to himself, look, I'm 4th at the moment. I can get past Rashid, then I can go after Monteiro, and then it's gloves off between the pair of them, Nikita Johnson and Schooler, 2nd in the championship, up for grabs, and these race 2s can be the place where you make the difference.
Yeah, it is for sure. As we see the team, there's a few rocks and all sorts through that part of the track. It's worthwhile getting that all cleaned up, as there's a lot, you don't want marbles flying it into the bus stop there.
Yeah, they do a good job here at Highlands, and as I mentioned, Damon Leach and the Leach family all working. Mum's in the secretariat, Dad's in the medical car, and Damon runs this team here at Highlands each and every day, as well as doing fast laps when he can. And I mention his name because he's a former Grand Prix man and has for many years. His brother Brendan, currently a Lamborghini world champion in his own right, and racing at Bathurst last weekend. A lot of damage to that Lindblad car, but it doesn't look as though, like you said, you've mentioned the tub. The rest, the suspension, the rear suspension, that's just bent. That can be sorted. It looks as though both left and right are broken, but again, would you say time enough?
Yeah, they'll have the... Either way, I would say they'll get this car back out, whether or not it's a complete new tub or whatever's got to go on to get it back out there. But already they will be pulling parts in. They'll know that whole side of the car's damaged. They'll already be down at the Toyota parts department just grabbing what they need from that crew to get the car ready to go. So they're already starting that process.
You know, people coming to motor racing for the first time, that is motor racing at its finest, because it just shows you how tough this sport can be. 1 minute, you're a hero. Huizenrode on top yesterday. Lindblad claiming the title, and both of them out in the very next race.
Yeah, it's a huge shame for them to have it in their way, but you know, it could be worse. Could have been the race this afternoon, the all-important 69th New Zealand Grand Prix. So it's still a chance for them to turn it all around. But the other thing as well, they lose miles of trying things on the car to see if they're improving, to see where they're at to be able to fight.
Manson's in a good position, currently in 5th position. He's ahead of Zagazzetta, and they're fighting 4th position in the championship, 6th and 7th. And with Shin out, no rival there from him. And Patrick Huizenrode on 2, well, he was fighting with both Schooler and Johnson potentially for that 3rd place. This is not going to help, and there is the number 5, the Australian, heading back to Great Britain after this. Has spent much of his career in Europe, and I think let's head down to Greg Rust.
So I'm going to try and sneak in here. So Bruin Beasley, who's the boss of MTech Motorsport, with his team, is looking over the car of Patrick Huizenrode. So this is early indications. What's the tub like? What do you think? Can you get it ready for the Grand Prix?
Oh, we'll get it ready, there's no doubt, but probably looks like there's a bit more damage than you can physically see at the moment. Could even be drive shaft, gearbox.
Okay. Did he say much on the radio? Have you sort of got his take on things or not yet? He's not here at present.
Nah, he doesn't really say anything.
Okay, we'll leave you to it. Thank you for talking to us. There he is.
Yep, hero to zero, sadly, and like Bruin says, you never know really from looking at it from the outside, and you can see the fluid dripping out there, and that's why he's a little bit more concerned that there might be some internal problems for that car, but he's still fairly confident. I'm just glad to see Beasley back up and MTech back to where they need to be.
It's fantastic to see Bruin doing so well with his team. They were obviously on pole for the New Zealand Grand Prix this afternoon with Brock Feeney. So yeah, it's just great to see how good those cars are going, and you know, they're all fixable, and I'm sure they'll get them turned around just in time.
Well, Arvid Lindblad starts 5th for the Grand Prix, and he'll be wanting to make sure that all is A-OK. Now, they've been a long time under safety here, and this is tough for any racing driver because there's a lot of systems checks you've got to do in order to prepare yourself for that restart, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. It's all about knowing when the race is going to restart, as you want. You know, you don't want to be flat out warming your tyres up the whole time. You can let them cool off just a little bit, but in saying that, though, we haven't actually had any race laps, so it's one of those things that we'll see them get ready to rock and roll very shortly, as they're just cleaning up the track, so we might get one more lap, or no, we're just getting a report that lights are out. We are going back racing very shortly.
Yes. As you can see, the Super lights are out, and that is the international sign for we are going racing. Nikita Johnson slows them all down. They're all line astern. And this is more his bailiwick in that he is used to rolling starts. He struggled a little bit off the line in the season so far, but look at Monteiro tucked in right there. The Brazilian really got his tail up now for a chance at a win, and the top 3 have yet to have a win, and Skula in 4th has had one. Manson's had 2 race 2 wins, and so there's a lot to be gained from this restart. Nikita gently, quietly going about his business, not afraid, the young 16-year-old. He's got bags of confidence. We spoke to him over the weekend, Greg Russ did, and now he accelerates away. And we are racing again here with 6 laps gone of the 18. Crosses the line now, and he got away well. Monteiro follows him into the bus stop. Skula looking for a way past Rashid early on.
That was a good restart there by Nikita Johnson there, sort of caught everyone else behind, napping just a little bit, so he's pulled a good 2 to 3 car lengths by the time he made it into turn 1.
So good clean restart, and Skula the most likely to make a move on Sean Rashid at the moment. We'll watch for Will Brand to try and come through.
What I'm interested in seeing here as well is seeing if anyone has used the new tyre for this reverse top 8 race. Every other round, I'd say at least one of them will be doing it, but because we've got the New Zealand Grand Prix this afternoon, I can't imagine anyone would be wanting to start that Grand Prix, which is the longest race of the season, on a worn set of tyres. You want greens for that Grand Prix later on.
Well, in the press conference last night, Michael Shin was one of the men that said that the circuit has quite a lot of deg, and therefore I agree with you. I think if you've got a longer race, you'll want as much tyre as possible. These cooler conditions will help, but I think decision-making was done far before the conditions dropped as low as they are. And a bounce over the bridge by the leaders as they pull away from Rashid, who's still under pressure at the moment from Zach Skula, who's had perhaps one of the most sensational seasons of anybody out there, winning the rookies title. Manson, though, trying to see if he can get that scout, the 2 Kiwis, together on track. But Rashid losing valuable time now to the leaders as they cross the line again. A fastest lap of the race, a 1:32.143 by Nikita Johnson.
There's a Rashid here. He's sort of in his mirrors already, trying to defend that position. He needs to focus on up ahead, because as soon as you start doing that, as soon as you start defending, you fall further back into them and you end up getting even more pressure applied. It's easy for me to sit here and say that, but when you're in that environment, when you're leading a pack like that, you can't help but look in your mirrors and see what's happening behind you to hold off that position. Oh, I lock up there from Manson as well. Rusty.
Andrew, I'm down at pit exit, and I found Patrick Hoytzenroder. You're getting medical clearance here. You okay?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. I just went in. Everyone really checked up into the bus stop, and I went in on the outside of the right, and something clipped to my rear right, so I went up across the middle, and luckily no one hit me, but I think a few people reacted and got some damage. So yeah, it's not a great way to start the morning, but hopefully I can get another good start in P3 and Southern.
I mean, it's highs and lows after the success of yesterday. We've had a word to Bruin about the state of the car. Just your thoughts on that too. Should be okay for the Grand Prix?
Oh yeah, should be absolutely fine. It's just a rear right corner. A few things bent, but the boys are doing an amazing job to get it back.
I'll let you fill this in. Just put it to care of Jonathan Green. Okay, thank you, mate.
Thank you, Greg. Just what I needed. I'll get him out there, don't you worry. Boys and Road, if you need my help, I'll be down there.
Oh, would you be help or?
Good question. Nikita Johnson, though, has gapped the lead now by 0.6 of a second as we enter lap 8. He really wants this Nikita. I spent quite a lot of time with him and his dad over the 5 weeks because they've been on their own and been sharing the same hotel, so I see them all the time, and they're very intense, the pair of them, but they're also fun. They love their hunting and fishing, and they've had some fun while they've been here and enjoying the delights of New Zealand, but they really want to win. That's the one thing that's eluded them, and this is that big chance.
Yeah, he's been solid all season. He's sort of been running in that top sort of 3, 4, 5 all season long, and to be able to convert this to a win. But you sort of get the feeling that he doesn't have the pace that we've seen out of him. Normally he's sort of towards the back of this reverse top 8 race because he's so far up the front, but the opposite today because he sort of just doesn't have that pace as we've seen out of him normally. He's up there for this one, but either way, it's still a race win. We know how fast he is. He's a very, very talented young driver who's got a very bright future.
Would you agree with me that M2 have not looked as solid as they have in the 4 weeks? Why do you think?
It's hard to know. It's a track that when you miss the window here, it's really hard to get it back because this track is such a confidence track. You need a lot of confidence to be fast around here, and if the cars aren't quite quick enough, then your drivers aren't confident enough, and then it just makes it that bit harder to be on the pace. So it's certainly they're missing something with what they're doing at the moment, and this race doesn't help at all because they need to find lap time, they need to find speed before the Grand Prix this afternoon, and when their front runners, a lot of their front runners are out of this, they can't use that data to be able to improve later on, as we see a bit of a battle of the bulls a bit further back.
Yes, they're together on track, aren't they?
Yeah,
warming themselves up for later today.
Yep, I would say that will be working super hard to try and get past Brock here, as this is a bit of a setup for the Grand Prix. This is something that we're going to see this afternoon, so that'll be a bit of a tick in the box for Will if he's able to get past, and a bit of a, yep, I can do it. I'll be doing it in the Grand Prix if I can.
Well, it's also a good learning thing because he can kind of push Brock and say, okay, I'm fine. He might not show his powder here. He might not actually fire it off here because he might just wait and say, okay, I'm better in this corner and this corner, and then try it in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's another way to look at it as well. So either way, they'll be battling hard, but they're both very, very fast, talented drivers. So the last thing I would see, as we see a bit of a move up the inside, as Crosby has a little bit of a go, can't quite get it done, didn't commit quite hard enough, get late enough up there to get it completed.
Barrett Wolf in the 13 looking for his best result of the championship, currently in 10th position. And just ahead of him, James Lawley looking for the Canadians' best finish of the season. And there's no question, each and every time this 5-week championship, the racecraft between the top guys and the guys that are just learning their way and are mostly rookies improves dramatically each and every time. Remember, Crosby, the man that Barrett Wolf is ahead of, was 5th in this championship last year, so this would be a good scout for the young American from Las Vegas, who's very new. He and Sean Rashid started very late in racing. Rashid, 25 years old, before he turned to motor racing.
Yeah, so it's a good job by him to be able to do what he's doing and compete in the sitting win P3 at the moment. But if you've just joined us our coverage and wonder why we're seeing the two 888 drivers at the back of the field when they're on the front row for the Grand Prix, it was obviously a pretty decent crash at the start, and both of them having to take evasive action being stuck down there. So they're trying pretty hard to get back through, but as we've learned this season especially, it is just so hard to get past anyone in these cars, and you know, with the level of driving that we've got this year.
Well, Zagazzetta, despite being a big part of that incident, being a part of taking Lindblad out and having to avoid other collisions, is still going strong, to be fair. He currently sits 6th, and the car is okay, as we heard from Greg Rust, as he jumps over the bridge just behind Manson. Let's head down to Greg Rust.
That's probably the chat he doesn't want to do.
I'm already on camera.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, yeah. Looking forward to the Grand Prix now. Hopefully trying to finish the weekend strongly.
Race suit tells the story here. We can see the marks. I mean, you sealed the title yesterday. That's a wild start to Sunday morning. Walk us through how it unfolded from your side of things.
Yeah, the start wasn't great. And then into turn one, it all kind of kicked off. I think there was a bit of contact in front, and Pac was on the grass, and then they all kind of came across, and I was sort of on the one on the right, who was then sort of the last one to get hit and sent into the wall. But it's fine. It's a racing incident, so yeah. I'm sure. I think the car's a bit damaged, but I'm sure the boys will get it all sorted for later on today, and then we'll be looking forward to hopefully have a good result.
Glad you're okay, and thank you to the medical crews too. Thanks, Arvid.
Well, quite chirpy for a guy who's been taken out of that race, but we'll see him again in the Grand Prix, and like I said, he starts 5th for the Grand Prix, and he will be ready, I'm sure. Zagazzetta continues in 6th place. You're missing nothing at the front. The gap is 0.5 of a second, so Nicholas Monteiro doing a good job of staying with Nikita Johnson, because in terms of form guide, Nikita's had a lot better results than the man in 2nd place, Monteiro. Manson and Schooler have got a gap now that's stayed that way. And like I said, that's the good New Zealand battle. There's also a good battle between two men going to FR and Americas next year as teammates. That's Bowling and Statty. They've had quite a rivalry here, and they'll continue that in the USA. But what a time to have Dad come back, and what a time it's been for the Schoolers as Michael Shin watches on, and he too will be back. There's Mr. Schooler.
Certainly not the spot for Michael Shin to be part of this race. He'd rather be out there and say he's sort of an innocent bystander in that one, and they'll get their car turned around. At least there wasn't too much damage on that one.
No, 12 of the 18 laps gone. No change at the front. Rashid still holding on to 3rd, and that would be a really good result for Sean Rashid, yet to be on the podium, and I think that would be just what a fitting, if you like, end to his season. Don't know if he'll fare as well in the Grand Prix, but you never know with our Grand Prix. It's such a long race, and anything can happen, and, you know, that bus stop has just shown you what can happen.
Yeah, for sure. And just been getting race radio reports as well. There's been a 5-second penalty added to Brock Feeney for exceeding track limits. So that's a bit of a shame for him, but I think he won't be too worried about it for this race. He's obviously not in for a championship fight. He's not worried about an overall weekend result. He's purely here focused on the Grand Prix, but at the same time, it's that happens pretty fast to be able to get those track limit warnings. So what we're talking about there is, you can see that line that the cameraman was just on. You got to have at least one wheel touching that white line as you go through there. So it's that's what the way the rule is written, that as long as you're not all 4 wheels completely over the white line exceeding the track limits.
Well, if it stays like this, Nikita Johnson would take a bit of a smidgen of a lead going into the Grand Prix for the runner-up spot, but that puts him in the box seat to take that runner-up spot ahead of Schooler. But like we said, as we look at Schooler coming through the bus stop, anything can happen in that Grand Prix. Let's head down to Greg Rust.
So this, by the sounds of it, with Jonathan Murray at M2 competition, sounds like a race against time. What state is Arvid's car in, and can you make the Grand Prix?
It's a good question. We're trying to assess the situation right now. It's not looking positive, I have to say. So we need to find a solution with Toyota to see what we can do, but it's going to be a very, very, very tight race to get the car on the grid.
Okay, so the question then begs is, what kind of solution can we get? A chassis? Can you get a spare car? What are the options in that regard?
I think the answer is right behind you. There's a tub that just turned up, so we have to change the tub. This is the biggest problem. So it's a full rebuild of the car for the moment.
But within a narrow window for you, you've got a great team here, admittedly.
Yeah, 4 hours is, I think it's unheard of if we pull it. So I don't think it's been done before, so we'll see. I can't guarantee it's going to happen, but we'll try our best.
One of the best in the business. Thank you for talking to us. We'll leave him go. We'll continue just to show you the vision here. So behind, you're watching Arvid's car and the dismantle happening. We'll get our cameraman to pan around here, just around to the left. Here's Mark Pilcher. Here's that tub that Jonathan was talking about.
That's amazing. What a story. Because, like you said, 4 hours to rebuild an entire car. I mean, that's Formula One stuff, and M2 are the best in the business, as quite rightly Greg Ross says, but boy, that's a task.
That is a huge task, getting that car turned around, because you've got to remember as well, they're not just bolting everything off the current car and throwing it on that new tub. they are going to be finding parts that are broken as they're trying to rebuild this car. As you pull the engine off, how far back is that broken? Is the bell housing broken? What parts of the car is broken as they're trying to rebuild it? So they're just going to be getting all the parts they possibly can over to that car to get it turned around. So 4 hours is a very tight turnaround, but these guys are professionals. They will get it done, I'm sure, hopefully.
I tell you what, this is starting to become an intriguing battle here at the front, because Nikita Johnson claims that his strength is at the end of the race, but we've been told that Nicholas Monteiro did go out on new tyres, so by theory he should have an advantage over Nikita Johnson, who is saving his tyres for the Grand Prix, or his better tyres for the Grand Prix. So Monteiro has a bit of an advantage when it comes to tyre wear, but Nikita has already told us in the past that this the end of the race and his tyre management is good. Could be a good finish.
Yeah, it's certainly starting to close up just that little bit more as you're really putting yourself on the back foot for the Grand Prix by running those fresh tyres in this race. But at the same time, leaving this championship as a race winner is something that you really want on your CV. So that is why, obviously, we're only getting reports. It's not a confirmed thing that he is on new tyres, Monteiro. So, but with the pace that he does have in the second half of the race, it's reasonably likely.
Well, Nikita has upped the pace again, 1.1 seconds, and he is controlling it and doing what he just was telling us just the other day, which is finishing well, managing well. And that's the game, and that's a lot of the reason why they come here to New Zealand, the Pirelli tyres, and learning how to use them so they can use them well in Europe, wherever they're racing.
Yeah, well, it's a tyre that's used all the way to the top as the Pirelli, so understanding that tyre, even in this category here, will help you as you keep moving up, and it's something that's so important to understand that tyre and how it works, and especially in qualifying, because qualifying, as we know, is so important to set yourself up for a good weekend. So understanding that is absolutely critical. So laps tick down. We've just got a few to go now as they make their way up over the bridge for another lap. Nikita Johnson in the lead of this race. Nicholas Monteiro sitting in second place. Question mark over whether or not he's running the green tyre, but he's got some good pace.
Well, Nicholas Monteiro, here's a good little stat. He was born in the middle of a hurricane, in Hurricane Wilma. So he's had a tumultuous run, and I don't think anything will scare him. Now, the black and white flag is out for 8 and...
Car 8 and car 9. So that is Monteiro and also Zagazeta.
Oh, Bowling's gone wide. Keeps it going. And that looked like it was all on his own, because he was clear at the time.
Yeah, he's bowled a bit of a wide there.
Yes, you could say that nicely. Nicely done. There was no googly involved, I'm afraid. Crosby pushing on, and he might get some decent points out of this now. He goes into the top 10 after that spin by Jet Bowling. Bowling drops down to 14th position. Now, Enzo Ye has had a tough weekend. He lost all 4 sides of his car in practice 2, and they got it together. We talk about M2 prowess in rebuilding cars. They got Enzo's car out there after 8 minutes of the 3rd practice session, and he was able to circulate and get a couple of laps in, but he's been on the back foot. Boy, is Crosby putting the pressure now on Barrett Wolf in 9th position. And Barrett going round the outside will try to keep his foot in. Man from Las Vegas, who started off as a track day racer and was spotted, and they said, you need to get a race license. So he went to Jack Russell School, and well, let's have a look at what happened to Jet Bowling. He's coming up on start 10. There was a run. Oh, it's his teammate.
I was lucky that it couldn't have been any worse here. So he's come over to try and cover the line, but he's already had his teammate on the inside of him there. So a bit ambitious to try and cover that move off.
Yeah, no kidding. And he's got going again. But like I said, there's been a big rivalry between those two, the young Australian and the young American. One just 16, turning 17, the other 19. And they'll reinvigorate their battle later in the season. Now, Nikita's done a good job. The gap are now 2 seconds here on the penultimate lap, so he's got control of this race, and he's put paid to Monteiro's pressure that was there up until about 3 laps ago. And now Nikita Johnson is on his way. Walker Key will be watching live in Florida. And Obi, his father, will put on a big party as the opening party to the St. Petersburg event for IndyCar. And Nikita wasn't expected to race that, but he's put a last-minute deal in while he's been here in New Zealand and will race for HMD. And he's going to have 4 races in the championship as well as a full GB3 season. So it's going to be a busy year for Nikita Johnson, but no better than to take a win here as he comes across the line to start his last lap here.
We see a few more flags getting waved as well, a few more bad sportsman flags for most likely track limits, as we've seen it all weekend long, and that's going to be an interesting one come later this afternoon as well. But Nikita Johnson doing a fantastic job, well in control of this race now. And Monteiro, this is fantastic for him, sitting in second place with Sean Rashid as well. It's
great
so
story.
cool to see him coming home at this stage. He's still got to complete this final lap, but sitting in podium contention.
And Will Brown has won the battle of the 2 bulls. He's ahead of Feeney, but they'll go to battle for real, if you will, in the Grand Prix as they both start on the front row. And Australian race fans are going to be so looking forward to that, as we are, of course. And Nikita will be a factor too, especially now with the monkey off his back, so to speak, taking his first win in the series. And it's been an accomplished one too. There was all sorts of drama at the start. He kept out of it. And the 17, the all-grey M2 competition car. Not been an easy time for M2 competition. They won't even be watching this because it'll be all hands on deck to get Lindblad back out there. Meanwhile, Nikita is flying the flag for M2 competition. And he's just got 2 corners to go now, the young American, the youngest competitor here. And he's kind of been the youngest competitor even from his dirt days. He got dispensation to come into every championship he's raced in, but now he's going to win his first international New Zealand race here and takes the win here over Monteiro of Brazil. M2 competition win, Nikita Johnson wins, and that's his first of the season. And Sean Rashid of the USA, 2 Americans on the podium and the Brazilian. And a good finish there. Skula takes 4th, Sebastian Manson 5th, Zagazeta stays 6th. Stati, despite coming together with his teammate, which was more Bowling's fault than his, takes 7th. Lawley takes 8th, that's his best result, and Barrett holds on under the pressure of Crosby to take his best result of 9th, Crosby 10th, Enzo Ye 11th, and Will Brown beats Brock Feeney, or does he? Because it just so shows me that Brock Feeney crosses the line in 12th.
Yeah,
but he's got that penalty though.
That might be, nope, he's popped back up in front of him again. So he has got past him on track, but again, fantastic job by those guys with the top 3.
So then, the mustache doing its job as Nikita Johnson, we'll talk about that later. In 2nd place, Monteiro of Brazil, Sean Rashid of the USA in 3rd. Zach Skula of New Zealand 4th, Sebastian Manson also of New Zealand in 5th. Zagazeta of Peru takes 6th, Stati of Australia 7th, Canada 8th with James Lawley, Barrett Wolf of the USA 9th, and Alex Crosby of New Zealand 10th. 11th is Enzo Ye. Will Brown, Brock Feeney, we'll see what happened at the end. Jet Bowling spinning around, Michael Shin out, likewise Huizenroda and Lindblad. Let's hope they all make the Grand Prix. Here's a look at the start, and Sean Rashid probably made the best of the starts in 3rd, but then Huizenroda nowhere to go, bangs wheels, and with Zagazeta avoids him the 2nd time, but unfortunately, in the process, Michael Shin and Lindblad go off. Huizenroda also out at the restart. Good start from Nikita Johnson. Monteiro tried to stay with him, and the gap was about 0.5 for most of the race. There was all sorts of battles in between there, but the control of the race was definitely with this young man. Nikita Johnson doing the business, flying over the bridge, and by the end of it, he'd taken it to over a 2nd. That was a big moment for the 2 teammates from Kiwi as they come together. Bowling going off, Stati carrying on. No problems though. Johnson takes the win for the USA, Monteiro 2nd, and this man, Sean Rashid, takes 3rd. Well done to Nikita Johnson, and he deserves that. He's worked hard this 5 weeks, and Yeah, he doesn't mind the intensity. I talked to him earlier in the weekend, and he said, I said, do you mind the fact that you've had to race back to back to back? He said, no, I quite enjoy it, actually. He said, it's same with Lindblad. He liked the idea of the amount of seat time and the fact that you focus on racing. He said, when you have 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off, you know, I wouldn't say you forget what you learned, but you can actually put what you learned in one race into practice 2 days later.
Yeah, I don't think you'll hear too many top-level drivers saying they don't want to go racing on the weekend. They'll race every single weekend if they could, because that seat time is just so important, and it's what they're here to do. It's what they love, and that is certainly something for Nikita Johnson, taking out the race win.
Yep, great stuff, and he's got a well-known name in Europe, racing with the likes of Arden and VRD, and now high-tech. Ollie Oakes will be watching, I'm sure. We've been talking, of course, about Helmut Marko. Well, we should also talk about Ollie Oakes, because he's definitely keeping an eye on this young man, and he'll be racing in GB3 for that high-tech team. And so all eyes on this young 16-year-old. He's got a long way to go yet in his career. I'd love to see him back here next year for a second run. There's that mustache. Says he's Jeff Gordon looking. That's what he likes, and his first go-kart was a Jeff Gordon replica. There you go. So, congratulations from Dad, and now congratulations, I'm sure, from Stephen MacGyver.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, it's going to be a podium of first today. First win, Nikita Johnson. That must feel sweet.
Yes, feels really good. Even though it's a reverse grid win, I mean, it's still good because it's good points on Zach.
Well, of course, is that P2 in the championship and those 14 super license points for the final races. Is that focus for you now?
Yes, that's my focus. Trying to get as close as I can to Zach or even ahead of him. That's just my biggest goal for race 3. I'm not trying to go win the Grand Prix or anything, but you know, hopefully just easy top 5 and be ahead of Zach for points.
Hey, mate, Dad's probably watching. Do you want to say anything down the camera to Dad?
I hope I didn't raise your blood pressure too much, but yeah.
Well done, mate. Congratulations on your first race win.
Thank you.
So Nikita Johnson in P2 is Nicholas Montero, and he'll be happy because this will be his first podium. Congratulations. How good does that feel, that podium?
Thank you. Yeah, I feel awesome. First podium of Formula Regional. A lot of good guys here, and have a podium was awesome, and the pace was awesome. The car was awesome too.
Were you on greens?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's very, very cool. I mean, this season for you, how much have you learned through this championship?
Yeah, I think like everything. This championship is awesome. Like everything is awesome here, like the preparation and the drivers and everything is pretty cool.
Well, mate, we're really happy you get your first podium here in New Zealand.
Thank you so much.
All right, and for the P3, Sean Rashid, thank you, Nicholas. And Sean has actually been a bit of a nice revelation over the last couple of weeks, finally getting there and finding your rhythm, and your rhythm, you get a P3. How good?
Yeah, it feels good. It's been a long time coming, just really slow build up, but this, even from practice, this weekend's just been really good, and I just had a different mindset going into this weekend, just trying to enjoy it. It's the last round, and it's been a really wonderful experience here. I learned a ton, so nothing really to lose, and just went out and enjoyed it.
Have you been throwing a lot of pressure on yourself in the early parts of this championship?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm a very competitive person, and it's easy for me to get frustrated. You know, my lack of experience and just wanting to be somewhere I'm not quite yet. And so that can get in the way of things sometimes. So I've just been reminding myself to, you know, be proud of how far I've come and enjoy the journey and enjoy the racing. And it's been going a lot better, so.
Well, chilling works out. You got a podium. Go and enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
All right, time for the podium race 2, round 5 of the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship here at Highlands Motorsport Park in Cromwell. Trophies today will be presented by Andrew Aitchison, the area sales manager for Castrol. And in third place, and his first podium in the championship from the USA, Sean Rashid. In second position from Brazil, and his first podium of the championship, Nicholas Montero. And your winners today from the USA, and his first win in the championship, Nikita Johnson. And that is your official podium for race 2, round 5 of the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship.
So then, as they celebrate their top 3 here in race 2, one more race to go of this 2025 championship. But who will blossom, I wonder? Will it be Arvid Lundblad with a new car? 343 he now has, 289 Nikita Johnson, just 6 points ahead of Zach Skula. And then 19 points the difference between second and third. Huizenrode also looking to prepare his car for race 3 and the Grand Prix. Zagazeta in 5th, 244. Josh Pearson dropping down to 6th now, not here this weekend. Sebastian Manson 7th, Michael Shin 8th, Enzo Ye 9th. Sean Rashid with those points moves to 145, and he's got a chance of finishing higher than Enzo Ye. Will Brown, Alex Crosby 12th, 13th, Statty 14th, Bowling 15th. Tommy Smith 16th, Barrett Wolf 17th. Good result for him for a rookie. Gets 63 points, and well done to Nikita Johnson. His first win of the season, and the smile says it all.